Well, hello everybody and welcome to Real Wealth Network's weekly webinar. This is our Tuesday webinar. Happy to have you with us. It's June 4th, 2019. My name is Ben Eric Smith. I'm the Director of Investor Relations, and I also do quite a bit of investment counseling, do about 10 sessions a week with our members who call in. So happy to talk about Detroit today, which is the subject of today. And the way this generally works is the Tuesday webinar is kind of more of an overview of the market, and then it is supposed to and has been working quite well as a setup for those of you who have not had a strategy session, or in one way, shape, or form you have not connected with us. This is the way that you can do that, and then you schedule a strategy session either later this afternoon or sometime tomorrow or Thursday morning, so that you are then authorized to attend the Thursday webinar. And we do that for various reasons, but that way we can just kind of talk freely on Thursday. We can use people's names and everything's all transparent, but you have to have had a strategy session with us to be able to do that. So our upcoming webinars, obviously in 2 days, what I just talked about, Detroit, Michigan. We're doing the one where the actual Detroit affiliate will be on the line with me, and we'll be kind of going through the presentation. The focus, like I said earlier, of today is just an overview of the market, and the focus on Thursday will be he will talk about properties available in Detroit, actual ones that he has currently available right now in the process of being rehabbed. And then the following week, the subject is Orlando, same deal, overview on Tuesday, detail on Thursday, and that's a typo there. That should say Thursday, June 13th, Orlando, Central Florida Income Property Showcase on Thursday the 13th. Okay, our live events coming up. Might as well touch on this stuff now. Saturday, July 13th, we are going to be in San Mateo, and the very next day down in Los Angeles. Saturday, most likely it's going to be at the in San Mateo, because that's almost the San Mateo area is usually where it happens. And Los Angeles is at an LAX airport hotel, just for convenience of getting in and out. And then, well, we've got like 3 affiliates. We have oh gosh, let's see, I should remember this. I believe it is Florida, and I think Birmingham or somewhere in Alabama, but I don't know. I'll just be quiet because I'm just going to put my foot in my mouth. But that's happening on the 13th and the 14th. And then on Saturday, the 10th, is going to be the big one with everybody, meaning all of our affiliates are going to show up for the Cleveland, Ohio event. And just in case you're not familiar, Real Wealth Network, what we essentially do is about every month, sometimes every other month, we do an event on the West Coast, just like the 13th and 14th. But twice a year, we like to do our Eastern Showcase, and that's essentially, we call it Eastern because the poor East Coast, we always have events in California, but we don't really do many on the East Coast. So we pick somewhere on the East. So we've done Detroit, we've done Cleveland, we've done St. Petersburg, we did Orlando, the very first one about 1.5 years ago, and this one's in Cleveland. So the difference between the 10th event and the July event is that literally we're going to have 10, 12, 13 different affiliates, all of them. I mean, as many as can make it will show up and do like a 20-minute, 25-minute presentation, whereas our normal events, we just pick 3 or 4 and they do about 45 minutes. So it's a little bit more compressed, but it's an all-day event and you have everybody. So if you just kind of want to get an education on hear from everybody rather than have to go to 3 different events to hear everybody, the August 10th Cleveland Eastern Showcase would be the one to do. All right, that's me, investment counselor, director of investor relations. I've been doing this for a little over 28 years, not with Real Wealth Network, but I've been investing in property kind of on the side while I toiled with whatever my day job was at the time. I used to work in hospitality in the audiovisual field and stuff, but I did fix and flips while doing that. And I've also invested long-term, buy and hold single-family homes, condos, Northern California. Then I moved to Arizona, did it there for a while. Now I live in Florida, and I'm doing it here, just buy long-term, and then I've got stuff in Ohio as well. So it's a good gig. I like doing it. I love working for Real Wealth Network. It's good to do it full-time, which I started doing about 5 years ago. All righty. So what I'm going to do today is just kind of talk about Real Wealth Network overall, the purpose, why we're here, what we do and why we do it, and how we make it easy for you guys to build a passive income portfolio. We kind of have two parallel tracks. We have the syndication track, and then we have the single family home track. And it could also be duplexes or triplexes or even quads, but the majority is single family homes. So the point is to create passive income so that you can, gallivant on the beach, or do whatever you enjoy doing, and you're not having to toil away day in, day out necessarily. You're creating an alternate passive income stream for yourself in a relatively safe way of doing so, and still maintaining your existing lifestyle. That's kind of the whole point. So why Real Wealth Network? Well, first of all, it's free, which is a really nice benefit. You don't have to, no one's reaching for your wallet every time you turn around. When you're ready to invest, you just connect with us. The way we structured it is most things are on the website. It's there on the website, ready for you. We've got webinars, we've got market recaps, we've got sample properties, we've got links to podcasts. Kathy's got two podcasts, the Real Estate News and the Real Wealth Show, and it's all right there. But when a lot of people aren't quite ready to do anything quite yet, maybe they want to wait and see how things go and whatnot. But when you are ready to delve a little bit deeper, then you connect with us. You schedule a strategy session, and we take it from there. We have a conversation. It may be 20 minutes, 25 minutes long, maybe half an hour long. We find out what your needs are, what your goals are, what you'd like to do. If you have any particular markets you like, we'll hook you up with those markets. Most people who call me, they're not really sure what market they're interested in. So we spend 10 minutes or so going over the pros and cons of some markets based on what they say they want to do. So that's what a strategy session is all about. So we've got a bunch of frequently asked questions here that I'd like to go over. First of all, hey, wait, both of those come up at the same time. There we go. We don't help our members flip houses. We are much more of a buy and hold network. Not really interested in flipping. Flipping is fun. I did it. A lot of our members do it. Depending on what market they live in, you kind of have to live in an inexpensive market to do it. You don't have to, but it helps. But that's not what we're about. We're more about holding for long term and building a passive income. If you plan to purchase with all cash, in other words, no leverage, no lenders involved, you need to have about 60K. If you plan to use your individual retirement account funds to invest in property, you'll need to have at least 50,000 in your IRA. And the reason we say that is because the way the lending rules are, and it requires a bigger down payment, so you need to have a bigger amount of cash in your IRA if you want to invest. But by far the majority that we talk to don't do either one of those things. They obtain conventional financing. They see a $100,000 house and they need to have 20% down. The third bullet point there. You need a 20% down payment for whatever the purchase price is of your property. You'll need 20 points. You need to have a good, decent FICO score, 680 or above. Ideally, you'd be at the same job for 2 years, although that's not a deal breaker. We have a lot of people that are self-employed, that are not a W-2, they are still able to get financing. But you do need to have some reserves, ideally 6 months, a low D2I ratio, debt to income ratio, and no more than 10 finance properties on your record. Once you get up to 10, then it's fine. You can keep buying, but you just can't get conventional financing anymore. You have to kind of go off the reservation and get other options. So go ahead and absorb our friendly disclaimer here. I always like to say that real estate purchases are subject to risks, including the possible loss of amounts invested. And while we use our best efforts and proven protocols to screen, review, and understand the operations of each of our affiliates, we don't guarantee the performance of investments. We can't. There's just no way. These are separate companies that we're connecting you to. And although we've done our best to screen them, we can't be responsible for what they may or may not do. It's the responsibility of the investor to perform his or her own due diligence and analysis before retaining an affiliate and prior to purchasing an investment property. One thing I can tell you though is it's absolutely crucial that you order an inspection from a licensed home inspector. Let me set the stage here. You decide you really like market X. You've spoken to myself or Joe or Aristotle, and out of our 14 markets, you really like market X best. You go meet with market X, you see a property you like, you decide to put an earnest money deposit down on that property, and you're off to the races. You're going to buy up your first investment property, or even your 15th, whatever. But this is what you're doing. You want to order an inspection before you close, and you want to order an appraisal. Now, if you're getting financing, like most do, the bank's going to get the appraisal. You don't really have to worry about it, but they're going to make sure that the property's worth what you're paying for it. But if you're buying all cash, you absolutely want to get an appraisal, just to give you peace of mind that you're not overpaying by $1 over what it's worth. Those are the markets we are in, all the little red dots there. And I'll just kind of start over on the left side. We've got Albuquerque, New Mexico. Well, let me do, again, I'm trying to set the stage a little bit more here. So what Real Wealth Network does is we're 45,000 members, 45,000 members strong, and we go around the country and we identify markets that we think are great markets to invest in due to economic conditions, rent rates, demand for rental housing, all the usual things you look at. And once we identify those markets, we then find an affiliate or a team in each one of those markets that's buying houses, renovating them to our standards, and turning around and selling them to our members or anybody else they might work with. And right now we've got about 15 of those markets designated by the little red circles there. So we've got one affiliate in each market, and that would be the property provider, the company that finds and renovates and rents. So starting on the left, we've got Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then on the bottom of Texas, Houston, and then Dallas. And then we've got Kansas City, Missouri, Chicago, Indianapolis, and then moving over to Ohio, we've got 3 cities, Cleveland in the north, Columbus in the middle, Cincinnati down south, and then over there on the right is Pittsburgh, PA. And then down in Alabama, another state where we've got 3 markets, up north is Huntsville, way down south is Montgomery, and then right in the middle there is Birmingham. And then Florida, Jacksonville up at the top, and that also includes Ocala, which is a couple hours west of Jacksonville, Orlando in the middle, and Tampa on the left bottom. So those are all of our markets, and the one I missed is the one with the blue star, which is the kind of the focus of today, and that of course would be Detroit, Michigan. Michigan, Detroit. It has a nice population of about 10 million. Now that's obviously the entire state of Michigan, and 700,000 is the population of Detroit, 21st largest city in the U.S. And our affiliate always likes to point this out. Geographically speaking, you could fit San Francisco, Boston, and the entire island of Manhattan inside the geographical area of Detroit. So it's kind of like Jacksonville, Florida. It's a city that has a huge footprint. And it's just geographically really spread out. It's kind of an interesting little factoid. Now, why we happen to like Michigan, there's a lot of reasons, low taxes being one of them. They've got a 6% flat income tax, it's among the lowest in the nation. They've eliminated the industrial personal property tax. Don't really know exactly what that is, but I kind of do, but I kind of don't. Personal income tax is 4.25, is among the lowest in the nation. So 3 good tax reasons to invest in Michigan. A lot of major employers. I'm just going to fall silent, let you soak up the logos there. A lot of education, mortgages, Motor City. Growing economy, Olympia Development is proposing a $200 million in new office and retail developments in District Detroit, which is the old downtown area. Developers have broken ground recently on 70 single-family homes in just 2 Detroit neighborhoods. And on Thursday, when our affiliate is online with me, they'll be able to go into a little bit more detail with this. But the main focus of Thursday is just properties, but they will touch on some of this stuff. Henry Ford Health Systems is going to be opening a $38 million medical center, and a huge $30 million apartment building breaks ground at the old Tiger Stadium site. So there's a lot of stuff happening. Sometimes you can judge how much is going on in the city by how many cranes you see in the air. And There's a lot of cranes in the air in Detroit. The couple times I've been there, I always look at that. Job growth, 15,300 new jobs. I'm assuming that is since August of 2017. And you can see it's not a straight line. It's kind of gone up and down a little bit, but these are just by months. And the overall trend is clear. It's going up. So that's good, 0.76% annual growth. It's also very affordable. The cost of living is lower than that of any other state or metro in their Midwest. And I can say that amongst our markets, the Real Wealth Network markets that we have, it is our lowest price one. I mean, you know, I have a pretty good handle on what the price ranges are for the various areas. And, you know, yeah, it's pretty good. And, you know, I forgot to mention, if anybody watching this, and there's quite a few of you, have any questions, they can either be general questions about Real Wealth Network and how we operate, or any particular questions about Detroit, which I may or may not be able to answer. Feel free to just go ahead and type them in your GoToWebinar control panel there. There's a question area, and you just type it in, and we will get to those towards the end, or sometimes I'll even just answer them as they come in. All right, median home value. You can see that the orange line is the US overall. And from 2012 to 2018, no surprise, slow and steady upward. Blue would be the metro area of Detroit overall. In other words, every neighborhood, the high end, the middle end, and the low end. And the red would be the Real Wealth Network neighborhoods, essentially that meaning the neighborhoods that our affiliate in Detroit focuses on. And you can see it's less than half the price of Detroit overall. And that's because they're focusing on neighborhoods that are undervalued, where they can get a decent, you know, not the scary bad D or F areas where you have higher turnover and you have to worry about your house being vandalized the minute it goes vacant. They avoid those areas, but they do also avoid the higher end areas where the cash flow is going to be mediocre at best. So as you can see, I mean, let's look at the number on the right. About $80,000 is the average home value in the neighborhoods that our affiliate buys in, whereas Detroit overall, the average value is $190,000, so less than half. But the overall trend is going up. But another little interesting thing to note is you can see that the red line is going up a little bit less. It's not going up as rapidly because the neighborhoods that they're investing in are a little bit more conservative, a little more steady Eddie, which is pretty good from an investment standpoint. Okay, Chrysantos writes, the employment data sets are from 2018. Do you have updated ones from 2019? No, we do not. Those things are notoriously slow to come out, but we have not updated that yet. We will. Monthly median rent, Detroit versus United States. So again, same thing. I don't need to belabor it, but the red neighborhoods are less than, not less than half, but about a third lower than the Detroit metro area in blue. And then of course, gold would be US monthly rent. So yeah, that jibes. Every time I've looked at a house from our Detroit provider on a pro forma or gone on tours or anything, almost everything seems to be around 900 to 990 in that range for rent. Maybe 850, but almost everything's in the 900 range. Population growth, 0.5% change every year from 2010 to 2018. So it's going up, but very slowly. 4.291 million in 2010 and 4.316 million in 2018 estimated. So it's going in the right direction, just very slowly. 40,000 blighted houses are being torn down. So that's kind of interesting. The city is so spread out. They're like, okay, we're not going to be able to do something with all this stuff. So let's just get rid of some of these neighborhoods. You know, they've been foreclosed on or whatever. So we're just gonna eliminate them because, you know, a vacant house sitting there, it tends to be a magnet for crime and a magnet for blight. So we meaning Detroit is like, let's just get rid of some of these neighborhoods. But big giant rail project to connect downtown to other neighborhoods, that's good. $26 million to improve the bus system, and $430 million allocated to improve the police and fire services. So, you know, the city is not stagnant. The city is definitely moving in the right direction, and you are still benefiting as an investor in Detroit. You're benefiting from people freaked out about investing in Detroit, that it's got a bad reputation, that it's quickly shedding. But I mean, you know, they did hit bottom. They declared bankruptcy, hit bottom a decade ago, but that was, like I said, a decade ago. Hi, Ben. Does an affiliate constitute one buyer manager only? When properties are rehabbed, what details are provided as to what was addressed? All right, both good questions. And the answers are yes, the affiliate is just one company that we have elected to do business with or represent and throw our name behind. We don't like to have like 2 or 3 or 4 different affiliates in one city. It's first of all, they're hard to find. Good ones are difficult. It's not like they're coming out of the woodwork. And also it's, you know, when I'm have my investment counselor hat on and I'm talking to one of our members who schedules a time, if we determine that, you know, it's already tough enough to narrow down 14, 15 cities down to 1 or 2, but then to have to, on top of that, then decide between which different affiliate in that particular market to start working with, it's just, you know, if the one that we have has ample inventory to satisfy the needs and the demand of our members overall, then we don't want to have more than one, generally. So yes, an affiliate is just one company, one mom and pop type company in that area that we've done our due diligence on, we like. The other question that was asked by Sharon, when properties are rehabbed, what details are provided as to what was addressed? Generally speaking, we have our real standards, which are on REAL, and it's on the website. All of our affiliates have agreed to adhere to those standards. It's just kind of general guidelines for how long things should last. Just as a general idea, you know, if you're buying a rehab property, you shouldn't have to replace the AC unit or the roof 2 years after you own it. So their job as the affiliate is to make sure of that by getting an estimate as to how long things have left on them and repairing and or replacing things that need to. But to answer your question, Sharon, yes, you can always ask for a scope of work. Hey, I really like 123 Main Street in Detroit. Could you tell me what you replaced? And they'll give you a scope of work for it. Absolutely. Next question is an affiliate's properties listed currently for sale? Well, that's the way this works. Today is more of a general. On Thursday, the Detroit affiliate themselves will be on the line doing this exact webinar. Well, not this exact webinar, doing a webinar similar to this, but they will be focusing on properties that they have for sale. But if you want to connect with them and have your IC, whether it's me or Joe or Aristotle, connect you with them, then you're working directly with them, and they will send you properties that they have. So we don't do it, but they do. That's why we put you in touch directly with that affiliate, or you just tune in and sign up for and tune into the Thursday webinar. Okay, let's see. Neighborhood overview, safe, low crime. They focus on neighborhoods that fit into these categories. Working and middle class neighborhoods. Our affiliate does acquire properties in middle class. You know, like I said before, there's the A, B, C, D, F system. It's kind of subjective because it means different things in different areas, but it's like a letter grade, you know. And an A neighborhood is generally speaking not going to cash flow very well because you're paying a premium for the property, and the rent maybe is a little bit more, but doesn't make up that difference. Most of our neighborhoods are going to be B and C's, and we avoid anything lower than a C minus because it's got other issues that come up. Our affiliate invests in Wayne County, Macomb County, and Oakland County. So, hey, the city's so big, there's got 3 different counties. But it's not all Detroit. They go into other areas as well. There we go. All right, so here's some sample properties. So let's just kind of go through these. Now, these are not available now. These are properties that were recently available. And when you tune in on Thursday, they'll have details of the ones that are actually available. But here's one, $70,000. The column on the left assumes that one is getting leverage and putting 20% down. The column on the right is if you're paying all cash. Regardless, the purchase price is $70K, 14,000 down on the left column, which essentially means your initial cash invested is 15,400. It should actually have under closing costs there, $1,400 there. It should say instead of not applicable. But either way, initial cash invested 15,400. P&I, in other words, principal and interest from a mortgage calculator. You know, if you've got a loan of 80% of 70,000 at 5.25%, your monthly P&I payment is going to be $309. Taxes are about $83. There is no HOA. Insurance is estimated at $50 a month. Property management is 10% of the rent. And being that the rent is $850, that would be $85. So that means your total monthly costs is $527. So if you've got $850 coming in, $527 going out, that means you have $322 cash flow every month. So times that by 12, that's $38.72. And then the all cash example, all the numbers are the same except, gee, there's no P&I because there is no loan, so no principal and interest. Everything else remains the same except for, of course, your costs go down and your monthly income goes up. So then now, if you pay all cash for this property, you're out of pocket a lot more, but it's $632. So that's an annual cash flow of $75.80. Okay. Next, I'll let you absorb that a little bit, but then I'm just going to kind of go to the next one. And I'm not going to sit here and read off all the numbers on example number 2. I'll just let you all just absorb those and elaborate a little bit on Sharon elaborated here. My question is asking if the properties are currently on the retail market or if they are held specifically for real wealth investors. Well, kind of neither. It's like in between that. The properties are not on the retail market because most of our affiliates, including Detroit, they're not like openly advertising them on the multiple listing service or the MLS. But they're not also being held specifically for real wealth network investors. I mean, if the Detroit affiliate has some other list of names of people, then those people could buy the homes too, the exact same price. But I'm pretty sure that Detroit, they mainly work with us. They have a few people outside of us, I'm sure, but it's the majority of their buyers are through Real Wealth Network. All right, so let's look at this property here. 77.5. My God, you've got an annual cash flow of $371 if you pay, if you leverage, and $713 if you don't. So, you know, what I always like to do is figure out the rate of return. Now, there's no guarantees of this, of course, but I mean, using these numbers here, if you're out of pocket $17,050 and your annual cash flow is $44.55, let's just take $44.56 because it's almost 56, and we'll divide that by our out of cash, which is $17,050. And that equals, wow, that equals a 26% rate of return, which is huge. Now, of course, that rate of return assumes that it's rented for 365 days and there wasn't a single penny of unforeseen costs. So that would be like the ideal best case scenario. There's always going to be something that lowers that number a little bit, but I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. They're quite good. All right, here's one that's a little more expensive, $105,000. Cash flow, $264. Just kind of reading the questions here. Okay, some of these are kind of general questions, so I'm going to save some of these for the end after we get through these examples here. Yeah, I really like this $265 cash flow if you finance, $728 if you do not. It seems like a little bit more down to earth return here. $3,169 annual cash flow divided by the out of pocket of $23,100 equals a 13.7% return. And if you paid all cash, then you've got a $8,737 divided by $106,050 equals an 8.2. So it's interesting. If you buy all cash, your rate of return is 8.2%. It's because you put up so much money up front, it reduces your ROI, rate of return. And if you use the leverage, you put up a lot less. Yes, you're paying a principal and interest. You've got a bank note you have to pay every month. But because you're out of pocket so much less, it really improves your rate of return. How large is the Detroit affiliate's anticipated inventory? 4 homes, 14 homes? I'm wondering if a bidding war occurs between. No bidding wars, absolutely not. I mean, that's one of the beauties of investing through our network, is that it's just kind of first come, first serve. If you make an offer on the open market with some seller who's selling their property, they're going to sit there and they're going to collect all the offers, and then they're going to pick the best one, usually the highest and best. That's not the situation with our Detroit affiliate or any of our affiliates. We put you in touch with them. You call or email them, you get in touch, you create a rapport, they'll send you listings, and essentially the first person to put EMD, earnest money deposit, down on a property, that's their property. Now, they're not committed to buying it at that point. You still need to get an inspection, you still need to get an appraisal, and maybe if the inspection comes up with things you don't like, I mean, you're not committed to buying it at that point. But there is no bidding wars. The price is what the price is, and it needs to appraise, and the property needs to inspect well. No bidding wars. All righty, I'm going to move on to the next slide here. All right, questions and comments. How convenient. Perfect. All right, let's just take some of these. Now, a lot of these questions would be good to ask on Thursday. So if you are able, and we'll talk about that in a second, but if you're able to sign up for the Thursday webinar and you want to have a strategy session first, I've got plenty of time tomorrow. Just book a session. After this webinar is over, everybody who has attended this will get an email with a link for how you can book a session. And if you, for some reason, don't get that, or it ends up in spam or something, then you can always just log into Real Wealth Network and book a strategy session. And the only thing that I ask is, if there's only 2 days between now and the Thursday webinar. So if you're like, yeah, I want to do a strategy session, but I'm really not so hot on Detroit, then please don't book for tomorrow, because let's save tomorrow's slots for those who really, really want to attend the Thursday webinar. Just book one for Friday or early next week, or late Thursday afternoon. But if you do really want to attend Detroit's webinar, want to hear about the available properties in Detroit, then by all means, grab a slot tomorrow. We'll talk for a little bit, and you will have officially had your strategy session. We will find out what your needs are. You'll be in like Flynn. You'll have the keys to the castle, and then you can attend the Thursday webinars. So anyway, here's a question that I cannot answer. How are the school rankings for the counties you listed? Well, school rankings are all over the map, right? It depends on what neighborhood you're in. What I always do is just, get the address, punch it into Zillow, and it brings up the address, and you scroll down and click on the schools. Generally speaking, and this is a super general comment, not specific to any particular market, the schools tend to be somewhat mediocre in a lot of these areas, which is why the properties are relatively inexpensive. So but there are some investors we have that really want good school districts. And Detroit probably has some good school districts. They may not. I honestly don't know. But a lot of the neighborhoods, people just go to private schools, or if they don't, they just deal with the school district. In other words, it's kind of like the price of the home and the quality of the school district. It's already baked in. The price of 123 Main Street in a bad school district and 456 Park Avenue in a good school district, well, the Park Avenue one is going to be higher priced because the school district does drive up prices to a certain degree. Now, does it do other things? Do they appreciate faster? Yeah, maybe so, maybe not. But schools it's a sticky wicket type of a question. Here's the question: is the low median income in Detroit a cause for concern? Not really. I mean, I would expect that, first of all, when you look at low medium income for any city, it's going to include, it's just like somebody talks about the real estate market in the United States. It's useless because there is no real estate market in the United States. It's all very specific as to what market we're talking about. So when people make these sweeping generalizations, it's like, well, what are you talking about? It's at 10-year highs in San Francisco, 12-year, 15-year highs, and it's in a very different situation in Springfield, Missouri. So you can't generalize like that. And I would say the same thing for median income in Detroit. Every zip code has a different median income. And so any big number for Detroit overall is going to take into consideration the high areas and the low areas. So it's much more crucial to look at the particular zip code that you are, or the property that you're interested in is in. But that would be a good question for the affiliate who comes on Thursday. But I mean, I think any property manager worth their salt is going to look at a prospective tenant of a given property and look at their income. How much do they make compared to how much we're renting this house for? And make sure that they have, I can't remember what the metric is, but usually they have to, I think it's 3 times, make 3 times what the annual rent would be at least. And there's some metric, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but they need to look at that. And then also look at their history. How long have they been around? So I don't think that's a concern, but it's certainly something to look for. Okay, what is the typical fee for property management, and what should we look for in a company? All right, well, this company charges 10% for property management. That's 10% of the rent on a monthly basis to manage that property. By manage, I mean advertise for, screen tenants, meet the tenants, place the tenants, and then deal with anything else that comes up. Now, there's always a fee to do that. In addition to the 10%, to place a tenant, it's usually 3/4 of 1 month's rent. And then the only other fee, so that's 2 fees. The fee to place a tenant is usually 75% of the first month's rent. That's to find, screen, and place. And then the ongoing fee to manage is 8 to 10% of the rent. And then the third fee is how much does it cost to renew the lease of an existing tenant. It's usually around $250. So those are the big 3 fees. But when interviewing property managers, and you don't need to interview them, they kind of come automatically when you purchase through Real Wealth Network by whatever. You're not obligated to use them in many cases, but it's advised that you do. But you should ask, gee, how many properties do you rent, or how many properties do you manage? What's your average vacancy rate? What's the average duration of a tenant? How long do tenants stick around? The longer, the better. So those are the key things to ask. Here's a really good question. Is it best to invest in many areas versus one area? Or is it better to buy in an area and stick to it? Well, I mean, this is just my opinion, but I think it's good to diversify, but it's not so good to over diversify. So if one wants to, say you own your primary residence where you live, okay, you are invested in that area. Even though it's your primary residence, you are still a homeowner in that area. So that counts as one area that you're in already. Then how many homes do you plan on buying? Like, I like the idea of being in 2 or 3 markets. So say I live in Albuquerque, that's where I live. So I'm invested in Albuquerque. Now I plan on getting 10 investment homes, single family rentals over the next 5 years. So I don't want to put all 10 in Kansas City. I would like to have maybe 5 in Kansas City and 5 in Detroit. That way I'm diversified a little bit. If Kansas City has something bad that happens in it and the real estate values go down, it's unlikely it's going to affect Detroit, and vice versa. So I like the idea of being in a couple different markets. Now, if you're only going to buy maybe 2 or 3 houses, one's probably just fine. You don't. But I do see some people who, they have 8 homes in 6 different markets. And why? That's just extra brain damage that you're having to deal with for no particular reason. To be in 6 different markets means 6 different state regulations, 6 different property managers that you're dealing with, 6 different statements you're dealing with every month. It's complication for no real reason. So I think 2 or 3. All right, Joseph writes, are there any multifamily properties available? Detroit does occasionally have 2 and 3 unit buildings, or 2 and 3 unit, duplexes and triplexes, but it doesn't happen very often. But that's something that you could certainly ask them when you're in touch with them. All right, if our consult happens after any particular webinar, would we be connected with the affiliate for an area we're interested in, or do we have to wait until another webinar for that area? No, absolutely not. You do not have to wait. The strategy session is kind of a general thing. We can go into specifics, but no, if you're a blank slate, we can talk about anything. We've just kind of, this week is targeting Detroit, but it does not affect in any way, shape, or form what we may or may not speak on when we talk live. So you don't have to wait. If you're ready for a strategy session, go ahead and book it. Doesn't matter what the week's theme happens to be. All right, does your affiliate deal with all the issues and problems that may arise with the homes for their management fee? Well, they're managing the property, meaning the tenant calls them, not the owner, not the investor, when they have a plumbing issue or they notice a leak or they're concerned about this or that. The manager is taking care of that issue. Now, you as the owner will have to pay for it, right? I mean, in other words, if the kitchen sink gets stopped up, if it's because the tenant is dumb and they're putting a bunch of food down it and there's no garbage disposal, then they'll call the property manager. Property manager will come out, determine that, gee, don't do that anymore. You as the owner will not have to pay for that. That's the tenant's fault. However, if, I don't know, what's another example? Something else happens that the tenant didn't have anything to do with, it's your house, you will have to repair. Say there's a little bit of settling and a window cracks because of it. It's probably a bad example, but tenants like, hey, this window is cracked and I'd like to have it fixed. They didn't cause it. They didn't throw a baseball through it or neighborhood, whatever. It's just cracked. Then tenant calls PM. PM goes out, fixes it, and it gets deducted from your monthly statement. I mean, you're the owner of the house, so you're the one responsible for it. Responsible for keeping it up. Okay, let's see. All right, I paid cash for a duplex in Detroit last year, and it is performing well. Now I'm looking for a second property. I need to get pre-approved. Do you have a list of Do I have a list of approved? I think that's lenders. Question 2, does Real Wealth Network have duplexes as well? Well, I already kind of answered the duplexes. Some of our affiliates in some markets are more likely to have multifamily than others. But places like Cleveland and Detroit, they're mainly single family, but they do occasionally see duplexes. So when you speak with them, mention that. Say, hey, I'm really interested in a duplex or a triplex or a quad. Then they'll think of you. All right, so to answer your first question, do we have a list of approved lenders is what I think that you meant to write. Yeah, we do. On our website, you log into realwealthnetwork.com. Over on the left, it says lenders, and there are about 5 lenders there. Now, you can use any lender you want. You're not obligated to use them, but most of our affiliates prefer that you use a lender that they have worked with in the past. And so, some of them don't like the big banks, the Wells Fargos and Chases, because they're too slow, or they have been known to be slow, and they just, So we recommend that you use one of our lenders, and I mean one of the lenders we recommend because they specialize in working with investors, and they're just more familiar with that investing space. How involved does the Real Wealth Network members get to assess the potential tenants? Not really that involved. I own 12 properties. I don't really want to be involved. I trust the property manager will have adequate screening procedures to where they're making sure that that tenant has a good track record with their previous places they've rented, and they have adequate income, and they're not some deadbeat that's declared bankruptcy 3 times and is late on their utilities every month. But if you're really worried about that, that is a conversation you can have with your property manager and say, I would like to have final approval, or could you please run past me? Now, some of them may say sure, some may say nope, we don't do that. It would just take too long to track down owners every single time. So that's a question you would need to have with your respective property manager. Okay, I'm going to advance here because I just ran out of questions. All right, so I kind of already went over this, but if you are interested in investing in Detroit and want to attend Thursday's webinar, click on the link in the email that I'm about to send you to schedule a time to connect with me tomorrow. If you're not interested in Detroit but want to connect about other markets, just leave the slots open for tomorrow for the people that really want to attend Thursday, and then book something for Friday or next week. I hope that makes sense. I think it does. Anyway, that about does it. Please click on the link if that's something that you're interested in doing. And thanks everybody for joining up. My name is Ben Smith. I'm the Director of Investor Relations. I'm one of the 3 investment counselors we have. If you click on the link, you'll be talking to me because whoever hosts the webinar sends out the link, and that's just kind of the way it works. But there are 3 of us. Aristotle's down in Los Angeles. Joe is up in San Francisco. It really doesn't matter where people are because 99.9% of the sessions we do are over the phone anyway. But Detroit's a great market. If you're interested in it, tune in on Thursday and you'll be seeing all the different properties he has. He'll probably spend about 10 minutes talking about the market and what they like about it. And you know, the questions on schools and the questions on median income and stuff can be emailed in, or not emailed, but sent in the same way that questions today came in, and he'll be able to give a little bit more of an intelligent response to that. Alrighty, everybody, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We will be here doing the same exact thing next week with Orlando, and Tuesday the overall and Thursday the detail. And I will see some of you or hear from some of you in 48 hours for the detail webinar on Detroit. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.